My name is Scott Andrew, and I want to explain why I advocate the Zeitgeist Movement, the Venus Project, and a resource-based economy. My interest in the Zeitgeist Movement was first sparked when I watched a film. The film was called Zeitgeist Addendum, and when I watched it, I realised a whole lot of things that I kind of knew but kind of didn't know at the same time. It was almost like the film joined the dots for me for a lot of things that I was either aware of or had heard of, but didn't quite know how to form them and put them together in my own mind. When I watched that film, it really did open my eyes to the world around me, and I began to look at things in a bit of a different way. I mean, everyone knows that our social system doesn't work. Of course we know that. That's why we have politicians. Apparently we hire politicians to fix those problems that don't work. So early last year, Jacques Fresco and Roxanne Meadows from the Venus Project were on their world tour, and we held 2 lectures here in New Zealand, and that was very interesting to listen to them talk about the problems of the world and their proposed solutions. And I think it was ever since then that I've been really involved in the Zeitgeist Movement and do stand for a lot of what they stand for. There's a whole lot of people out in the world suffering at the moment. Every day, children dying of hunger and disease. And the sad thing is, people think that throwing money at the problem is going to actually solve it. And not just that, for some reason people think that by throwing money at it, that they can absolve themselves of any responsibility. That was a real eye-opener for me when I realised that money isn't actually solving the problem. In fact, the poverty is getting worse. Our current social system is falling apart. It is absolutely falling apart. But people don't realise it because it's normality to them. It's normal to have most of the countries in the world in debt. It's normal to be in debt as an individual yourself, having to slave away at a job to pay off the debt for your whole life. That's normality, isn't it? That's really sad, really scary for future generations. Our current way of life is absolutely unsustainable. We can't keep living the way we're living. Even in little old New Zealand, we can't keep living the way we're living. We have to stop consuming as much, and we have to start paying attention to the planet and what the planet is actually able to provide us. It's really, really scary when I look at the data and the facts and figures about this. So this is why I advocate what I do. You know, people can ignore it or whatever. People can say it's a cult or whatever. It doesn't change a damn thing about the data and about the statistics. The Zeitgeist Movement exists to spread statistical information and positive value identifications. So basically, it's the value system that has the disorder. The human species as a whole is currently inflicted with a value system disorder. Now I know that sounds like pretentious and sort of, well, you're calling me mentally ill or something like that, but think about it. We're using more than we can provide. We as a species are using more than the planet can provide. So, you know, you don't have to be a financial wizard or any sort of wizard to know that is unsustainable. Our way of life is unsustainable. Absolutely. There's no way that we can sustain the way we're living. We can't keep consuming things forever without any regard for what the planet actually is capable of producing. So that's a fundamental reason, really, isn't it? I mean, a few weeks ago there was something on the news about one of New Zealand's largest malls expanding to be an even larger mall, as if we need to buy more things. You know, it's hilarious. The consumer confidence that they talk about in the news, I just laugh because of course, you know, we have to have confidence in the system in order to sustain it. If the confidence was to drop, then the system would fall over. But people don't realise that. The intelligent management of the Earth's resources must happen on this planet if we are to survive as a species. It's quite simple. I mean, we have a planet and we live on it, and we have resources on the planet, and we have to make sure that we utilise those resources in a way that can sustain our lives. I mean, it's a real no-brainer, really. Unfortunately, this is not talked about at all when it comes to the news or the newspapers, or even in Parliament. You know, I watch Parliament TV sometimes and look at the politicians sort of, you know, debating, I suppose. Do you call it debating or discussing? They're just like a bunch of teenagers, really. Their behaviour is sort of just ridiculously, they're belligerent, you know. Their behaviour is childish. They're all trying to win something. What? I don't know. It's almost like they're on a game show or something. So, I don't know. Do politicians just make deals with each other to get things happening? It's a joke. The whole thing is a joke. It's just a comedy show. The reason I advocate a resource-based economy is because it is one of the most logical concepts that you could ever conceive of. It's about how we have a planet, we live on a finite planet with finite resources, and we have to manage those resources intelligently with the information and the knowledge we have to provide for the necessities of life for everything on that planet. And that's us as people, that's the animals and the plant life and everything. And that's basically it in a nutshell, is that we should be intelligently managing our resources on this planet if we want to survive as a civilization. We're not civilized yet. Jacques Fresco says that we're not civilized yet, and I tend to agree. For as long as we have wars and poverty and hunger and all of those problems in society, then we're not civilized at all. We have to change. We have to grow up as a species, collectively. We have to grow up and realise what is actually important and what actually keeps us alive on this planet. It's quite simple. It's not rocket science at all. In fact, children actually understand this sort of information a lot easier than adults, because adults have a conditioned worldview. As adults, we have been conditioned into a particular worldview, and you know, for someone to challenge that can take away their identity. It's not good at all. It's very, very scary. The projections about where this planet is headed, unless we actually wake up and change what we're doing, pretty bad. So, you know, I try to be as positive and as optimistic as possible. But of course, when you're dealing with issues like this, it's quite difficult for people to see that I am in fact being positive. So I advocate it. I'm passionate. I'm absolutely keen to get involved with the Zeitgeist Movement and to promote this direction. A lot of people I talk to say, oh, yeah, I agree with it, but it'll take generations to change. But that's why. Why does it have to take generations to change? So if you want to learn more, go to www.thezeitgeistmovement.com. You can go to the New Zealand site at www.tzmnz.com, or you can visit the Palmerston North site at www.zeitgeistpalmy.com.